Adding spin blur to 3D meshes in Godot 4.7 has been made easy with my new spin blur add-on. This add-on is great for photorealism and communicating the sense of speed of rotating things like wheels, propellers, etc., as well as emulating real-world phenomenon like the rolling shutter effect. Some caveats before we get to it. First, the spin blur requires that you designated at least one unused render layer to work. Second, to maintain color accuracy in shadows, you might have to dive into more advanced features of the add-on, more on that later. Lastly, this is very much a prototype. I can only test it so much on my own. Bugs and limitations are expected, and any feedback or contribution from you guys are welcome. First, get the add-on from the repo I've linked in the description and put it in your add-ons folder. Open your project and make sure that the Spin Blur plugin is enabled in project settings. Go to the scene with the spinning element and add a Spin Blur node to it. It can be anywhere in the tree. Set the reserved render layer to an unused render layer of your choice. Now set the spinning node as the target of the Spin Blur. Set the target rotation axis based on the axis you plan on rotating the target node along. Navigate to Enveloping Mesh Generation and click Generate Enveloping Mesh. You should see a wireframe mesh that wraps the target node and all its children meshes. To test that you've done everything correctly, you can navigate to Debug section and play with the Override Rotation Speed property. You should see the desired effect at play. You can now adjust things like the intensity of the blur or even add a rolling shutter effect. You probably want the blurred meshes to match the original mesh's lighting, so you have to capture the lighting in the scene using either the Spin Blur editor button that says Capture Lighting, by enabling Capture on Ready, which will capture lighting at runtime automatically, or by calling Capture Lighting on the Spin Blur node from a script. This will add all the lights in your scene to the Spin Blur render layer, so keep that in mind. For the best color match, make sure you have an environment node with the background mode set to either a custom clear color or any sky. If you want the blurred mesh to receive shadows like the original mesh, you have to capture all shadow casting meshes in the scene by either enabling Capture on Ready or by calling Capture Shadows on the Spin Blur node from a script. Note that this will create duplicates of all meshes in the scene and put them in shadow-only mode and on the Spin Blur render layer. You can also preview this effect with the Capture Shadows Editor Only button. That's it. You've completed the basic setup. Now to more advanced features. If you want the blurred mesh to cast a shadow, there are two methods you can go with. The first method is the easiest and is to create a duplicate child of the blurred mesh and set its cast shadow mode to shadows only. The second method will better match the blurred shape, and it's more involved. The rule of thumb is that the blurred mesh should be able to cast a shadow that will vary in opacity when changing its transparency property. For opaque standard materials, the easiest way is with the alpha hash transparency mode, setting the alpha hash scale to be as small as possible. Once you have a mesh with a shadow that reacts to transparency correctly, you can add a Spin Blur Shadow node as a child of it. Increase the subdivisions until you are satisfied, and you should see a more accurate shadow. If you have tone mapping or color adjustments configured on your environment, the Spin Blur color may still be off. If you see that's the case, you can call Fix Environment on the Spin Blur at runtime, passing in the environment node. If your environment is configured on a camera and not a world environment node, you can use the same Fix Environment method to capture the environment set on the camera. If your mesh spins really fast, to the point where it goes over half a turn in one frame, the Spin Blur might think it's going the other direction. To fix that, implement the method getSpinBlurRotationSpeed and return the rotation speed without accounting for delta time. I hope you have fun with my creation. Till next time.